Chad, this is why I like, this is the one change I made with season 2 between doing the live episode and the Q&A, is we used to just do Q&A like second after the end. I like to let that stink permeate for a second. I like to let that stink hang with you for a second before we start talking. The stink of betrayal. Okay. I have just... I don't have a lot of stuff. Obviously, normally I have like a ton of concept art and like weird, like, here's how I did this, here's how I did this thing. Episode 8, obviously, pretty straightforward episode, but I got some cool stuff to show off, or at least unique things. So one of the hardest things for me to get right this episode was King Victor in an actual throne, a bone throne. The throne had to be made of bone, as was written in the script. So, like, here's how this thing works. This is, like, a long piece of paper. I'll have to turn this off. So this is, like, this is pure puppetry. Look how silly, like, of a puppet this is. And so it's basically, like, a hole cut in here, right? Like, it's pretty straightforward how it's done. But just like drawing it and making it all line up, so hard and so lucky. Again, it's just kind of a lucky thing that they kind of lined up and kind of look right. You don't know till you're cutting. And so, yeah, I'm pretty stoked that I think the illusion works. I think it totally looks like this is a man sitting in a chair coughing. Yeah, I was pretty pumped with how that turned out. One new thing, you may have noticed it a little bit in the last episode, that I started doing skies with watercolors. And so this episode, I'm like, I'm going to do more backgrounds in watercolors. And then they turned out pretty bad. But I did want to show you this one, the cave. And what's weird about this is, maybe I got to turn the light back on for this one. It's this really cool kind of watercolor that's like shiny. Yeah, you kind of get this glimmer. In real life, it's a nice glimmer. In the show, you don't really get you don't get that. I think because I'm blasting too much light on it, that the ice cave doesn't glitter like it does in real life. So that's a bummer. Also, I'm just like, the idea would be it gets darker as it goes on, but instead it's just very dark, and then like 3 colors that aren't necessarily lighter or darker than each other. So yeah, I wasn't too pumped about that. I did this for the first time. Instead of coloring the sky, I used the blue sky and then like cut out the city around it. And I kind of like the look of that. I kind of like how that turned out. And then, oh yeah, I kind of liked this one too, because I was able to use this a bunch as he strangled Yellow Fang more and more. And so like, this is the whole drawing. You don't get to see all of this. There was no reason to cut this out. You'll never see that in the shot, but I try to give myself as much like coverage as possible, basically, in case I want to have a struggle or something like that. So yeah, there we go, chat. Mostly it's going to be your questions. Oh yeah, we're there. We have 2 rules about questions. Rule number 1, keep it about box peak. Don't ask me what my ideal fingernail length is. And rule number 2, don't ask about future episodes. Don't ask what's about to happen. Simple. Easiest way for me to see your question is to do @EasyAllies. And then I can, it pops up in chat. So I'm monitoring live chat, right? It's easier to see it that way. Oh, and let me get the episode running. Cool. Did you intend for this to be rated R? No, I did not. Was CD's role decided from the very beginning? Yeah, when did I decide that that's CD's thing? Pretty early. Pretty early. Because we needed this whole 7 of 7 initiative, right? We needed this whole thing where the Box Peak organization wants a hero from Fairboat. Yeah, I mean, we established that stuff in like episodes 3 and 4, right? And 2, episodes 2. So yeah, to me, I think very, very early on planning CD and his whole deal, that was part of it. Yeah, it's really funny to watch episode 1 just to see, uh, this kid who just waits for other kids to come off of the boats from Fairboat Island. And just him playing, you know what I mean? And that's kind of why I wanted to add the end where it's just like, oh shoot, I can't swim, is I wanted you to be able to see CD playing with Geordie, being manipulative, because it does not feel good. Despite the music that's playing, you kind of feel like, oh, this sucks. Has this been happening the whole time? So yeah, I kind of like that. Nobody died at the zoo? Nobody died at the zoo. It's a story CD made up. Maybe his dad died at the zoo, but I don't assume that happened. When you mentioned the deleted scene of CD having the same reaction as his mom in episode 2, was that intended as a hint or a plot twist? No. That was intended as just like, oh, they're rivals. You know what I mean? I thought they'd be cuter rivals if you get this idea that CD hates Geordie, but also it doesn't work as well. Why would CD, this person who's trying to get Geordie to become a good box peeker, why would he hate Geordie, right? So it works both ways. And then, yeah, honestly, I kind of meant for the last scene of episode 7 with Thurvin, I meant for that to be the reveal that CD has been manipulating Geordie the whole time. To me, that was like kind of on the nose. But I guess the reveal here is just how close he is. You know what I mean? Like, hi, mom, and you cut after that. Like, that's the reveal, if anything, which is cheap, I admit. But yeah, it's kind of fun to go through the whole plan. The plan worked too good this time. So yeah, it was fun. Does this mean CD squeaky box is always intended to squeak? It does. Mm-hmm. And that's why he has negative points. Did you see my giant theory post on the last episode? If it was on YouTube, then the answer is yes. Her name reveal was the reveal. Yeah, if you paid attention to CD's last name before, yeah, you were ahead of everybody by 1 second. Was missing Huber in the credits a long-running bit of missing people in the credits? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, this is a bit. I think this is really funny when I miss people in the credits. Just a good bit. Just a good bit. Uh-huh. What is CD's middle name? To be honest with you, I don't know. Just know his name's Caleb. It sucks because when I'm doing the credits, I always just think of like who is in which scene, and I just totally forget like a little button like that at the end. If CD was failing on purpose, wouldn't he get kicked out like Victor? Victor lost 100 in a row, and CD didn't lose 100 in a row. When and how did you decide to bring in non-ally guests? So that's a really good question, Screaming Argonaut, because we recorded this stuff like 2 years ago, right? And it's weird. I do feel like the Easy Allies family has grown within 2 years. You know what I mean? I think there are people I would have asked to do like more and more voices today than like 2 years ago. So like, it's really funny. Like AJ, I felt really nervous about asking if he would do a voice too. And he was totally down. He was like, yeah, man, I'm way down to do this. AJ Locasio is, if you don't know, a professional voice actor. Like, I don't think, had he even done Voltron at that point 2 years ago? I don't know if he had like, he's like a total pro now, right? And it's just like, he did it, right? He I gave him Luke's performance. I was like, this is the other guy. Don't sound like this guy, but just like, this is This is your peer. You are like this guy. And then he gave that, and I really, really like it. I think it's such a nice, like, it gives you an impression of what the Fangs are like just by the way they speak. So yeah, I really liked that. How much English does Kazami really understand? Nobody's speaking English. That's the thing, right? Is they're all speaking weird, a weird universal language, I guess. She understands a lot, I think, at this point. Does Caleb have truly bad intentions? No. He just wants Geordie to get good at box peek. There's no bad intention there. What bad intention is? What's wrong with that? How many comments in the videos predicted the CD betrayal? So I remember after episode 1, some people weren't quite sold, right? They're like, something's up with CD. I think it dropped as Kazami comes in. Kazami's a good deflection off of CD. And then, yeah, after last episode, you're supposed to be pretty suspicious of CD. How hard was it for Amanda to do the end recap scene where it's all Geordie and Kazami? Really hard. We talked about it at the Q&A for the end of the first season. There were some times where after Geordie, she would just need a break. it's like a hard voice to do. And Kazami, she can handle. She's like, no, I can do more Kazami. Give me more Kazami lines. But like Geordie is, I think, physically exhausting to do that kind of thing. And so, yeah, I kind of, I like that, this thing, the, and I couldn't break out of my box. It's just really excitingly telling this whole story. Geordie's 12 years old. There's some really funny stuff with Amanda in this scene, or this episode. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive, the script does not say mommy deserves it. That's just a line that she came up with. She did. That's, yeah. When I'm looking back in this episode, no, I'll have them both. Mommy deserves it. That's just a line she improvised. It's so funny to me and so perfect. That scene had a pretty big rewrite, the restaurant scene. It was hard to like really figure out the deal between Denise and CD. Cause it's like, it's hard to nail down their motivations. And for both of them, it's about a love for box peek. And so that's when the scene where like, do you get to talk to the champs? That wasn't in the original draft. And so I wanted the scene where like you get to witness their shared love of box peek. And I really like that. I like when that turns and you can see them both suddenly become excited to be at a table with each other. It's funny, that came out because there was one line Amanda read. I don't remember. It wasn't, Caleb, I love you. But it was a line like that. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. She's not comfortable in this conversation. And so that was the rewrite there is Caleb, I love you. And I love you too. You know, I really, really dig that. And I love how she read that. Another really funny line read from Amanda is when she comes back and she says, he must be some kind of, talk to the base, he must be some kind of mythical chosen peeker. And I wrote back to Amanda after she did the pickups and I was like, that line, you crushed it. I love how you read that line. And she said, oh, honestly, that was the first time I had read that line and I was confused. So that was her just reading that line for the first mythical chosen peeker, but it totally works. It works for the read as well. I love that. I really, really love that. Was a fancy restaurant always named Shugi's Plus? Yes. Are they only able to connect through box peek? I think that's implied, yeah. Is the fact that she ate both milkshakes in contrast to the shared boat dogs? No. No. I just thought, like, oh, now she's going to end up with 2 milkshakes here. Let me make sure this loops. Properties, loop it, baby. Okay. Is there an alternate version of Kazami in the box peek dimension? No. They're not alternate universes. Does Revolver CD genuinely care about his friendship with Geordie, or is it just a job for him? That Lunacious, I think like that's a good question. I think that like that's meant to be something we wonder about, and myself included. You know what I mean? He's clearly not having a bad time. You know, it's he's clearly you wonder how much is faked, and I think at the end, like you get an impression like a lot of it's faked. Like you see this kind of suspicious expression. I only wanted to use this once. I was like, okay, I can never use that expression again because that means this one specific thing. But at the end, he's smiling the whole time. He's just like, oh, I can't swim. Obviously, he can swim. Is there a larger world outside the 9 islands? So there's 7 Great Islands and then a lot of other islands. But no, there are only 7 Great Islands. Did you give Jones any special direction for Victor's descent? No, I think you tell Jones, you tell him that he's become a king on Bonefield Island. He knows what to do. We did do a pickup on this one, actually. I realized how much I loved the line about the butter pills, and then that just kind of drops. What is that? That's like episode 3. It's so sad. He can't afford his medication anymore, so he has to start taking these butter pills. And it's like, oh, I dropped that. That's still going to be a problem for Victor, especially on Bonefield Island. So yeah, like I like this, him cracking up and then having to cough and says, "Bring me my butter pills." Jones recorded that line like 2 weeks ago. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Jones recorded that line. The Overseers and the Fangs are separate organizations, right? Yes. The Observers and the Fangs are separate, indeed. Yep. Fangs you can hire. So the Box Peak organization can hire Fangs to do things. They can't hire the Observers to do stuff. The Observers are implied to be above the Box Peak organization. Zodak, I love a hardcore lore question like that. Where do you record audio? In Jones's booth, the VO booth that Jones has. And what's funny is some of the pickup lines are really nice. Some of the pickup lines are like, because they got a new microphone set up in there, and so some lines are like, and then some of them are just like crisp. And I mean, maybe you don't notice unless you're wearing headphones and have it jacked up really high. But sometimes like, oh, no, come on. The difference between them, but it's fine. And that's kind of why there's a lot of restaurant noise happening in the restaurant, is to hide some of the that would come up on some of the lines. But I kind of like it. I like the vibes of the ambiance of a restaurant. Is the reason CD refuses Geordie's invitation out of guilt? No. If they go to a water park, they're not doing Box Peak. And so the reason he says we can't go to a water park tomorrow is because he's got to get Geordie ready in 14 days. Where's the cave the Fangs are in? I originally had a title for this one. There's an island called like Secret Ice Cave Island. Not one of the Great Islands. But I realized that got confusing because we talk about a secret cave at the end of the episode. So it is on Secret Ice Cave Island, but I didn't want people to get confused with that secret cave and the secret cave that the teenagers hang out in. 2 different caves. Is the Fang under Bronze Fang's eye a tattoo? No, that's just like a chip off of his helmet from previous encounters with other Fangs. Does CD's dislike of Kazami have to do with her possibly interfering with Geordie's Box Peak ascension? Kind of, but also, I think he likes being Geordie's friend, for sure. How many Fangs are there? It's up to your imagination. At this point. But you get the impression there's a bunch, right? You get the impression they have a history together. I like some of those lines a lot. I like them. how do you balance dropping hints about a character's motives without giving it away too early? I think we did it. I almost think we balanced it. I feel like people were getting suspicious of people at the right times, right? Yeah, I think as long as you know that what somebody's deal is, as long as you know why the character is motivated, I think it works. And that's why I had to rewrite some of this scene. Is it's like, wait, does Denise want CD to be doing these things, right? Does she love him? Stuff like that. And so that's why that all had to be kind of made clear in this scene. And so, yeah, I think as long as the motivations are sound, as long as a person walks into a scene and you know why they want why they want, you don't have to worry too much about giving too much away. Why Caleb? I think it's a kind of a dorky name. CD is a cooler name. And so his mom wouldn't call him the cool name. His mom would call him the name that she gave him. Does Geordie's family miss him? They just think he's on a super long field trip. I think that's the line, right? No, don't tell my parents. They think I'm on a super long field trip or something like that. Was Bronze Fang one-liner your cheeky way of confirming, yes, he killed him, and this line is to confirm that he killed him? A little bit, Profound Badness. A little bit. But, you know, I like to do little wraparound lines, and I think that's a good wraparound line at the same time. That, like, also doesn't make sense. You would never say nice dead body to somebody, but it's funny. Nice dead body. Luke did... I didn't want to give it away before that Luke did more than one episode, right? I guess you could probably know, but yeah, Luke Arnold crushed that too. Man, he puts so much work into Bronze Fang stuff. It's so impressive. There's so many parts of what he does, excuse me, for the character in this episode where, like, I think the line is that he smacks Yellow Fang, right? And, like, give an excerpt for that. And he goes, yeah. And I loved it. Just in the moment, I'm like, what a take. What a perspective on the noise you would make as you're smacking someone. Just this, like, little evil, yeah. Just his breathing after he strangles the guy. There's nothing funnier to me than when he picks up the phone, he goes, hello. Like, that's him doing his best casual, I'm Yellow Fang right now. Just so much funny stuff that he gave that character. And, like, honest stuff that he gave the character in this episode. Really, really cool. Really appreciative of that. Why Yellow Fang and not Gold Fang? To give you more impression that there might be more. If you have Bronze Fang and Gold Fang, I think, you know, you got 4 fangs max. But if you have Yellow Fang and Bronze Fang, it's like, how many fangs are there? 20? Is there a particular reason why violence is forbidden is emphasized with the fangs and the peak refs? Yes. Was his voice for this episode recorded at the same time as the previous episode? It sounds better this time around. Ooh, it was recorded the same time. That means I'm getting slightly better at audio. That means I'm getting slightly better at it. Thank you. I know it's still not great. I'm trying. Did CD arrange fights for Geordie? Are they plants? No. But he does know where to go find fights, right? Like, every episode starts with, like, CD, like, okay, now we're going to do this. And obviously that's just part of his plan, right? It's not like any of those matches were staged, but he knows where to go. He knows the path to take Geordie on. Were AJ and Luke together when recording? It sounded so coherent. No. In fact, AJ, I think he's got his own setup. AJ was not in Jones's VO booth. He just sent me some stuff. And it's like, yeah, dude, this is it. You nailed it. First try. And it's so funny. With Luke, I'm able to explain a lot to him. He read through all the scripts. He knew the character. With, like, Elise last time, with AJ this time, it's like, Okay, so here's the show. It's called Box Peak. So like it's really really fun when somebody can be so dedicated to such a silly idea, you know? And so yeah, I was super stoked with how his performance for Yellow Fang came out. Is it intentional that I'm jonesing for another Box Peak match? Yes. And so what I really dig the track when Geordie and Kazami are explaining what happened in this episode, basically, the episode that would have been. Um, it's a sad track, right? It's this kind of like, it's such a bummer. It's meant to be a huge, huge bummer that you did not get to see that episode. You didn't get to see Tukwai Togen bring presents and some grandma come and make fun of Tukwai, and then the Peak Ref making jokes about it. The music right there is a good indication that yeah, you're supposed to feel sad. For sure. For sure you're meant to be jonesing. Did you design Box Peak matches differently knowing they would be off camera? Red Sky, it's funny. I will probably reveal it after episode 10, but one of the things I did before starting writing Box Peak, it's like one of my first sheets of notes, is write out 10 ideas for how a Box Peak match could twist, basically, right? So like a light and then how to beat it, sunglasses was like one on the list, right? And so I think that, yeah, I looked at those and thought like which would be the most fun to show. And honestly, I think a robot arm is more fun to see than a fan that blows a box shut. And so, yeah, I would say that it kind of worked the other way around. It's not like that would be too hard to show visually, but like what would be more interesting to show visually was the robot arm. Are you intentionally making Tukwai the Gollum of the series? Yeah, I think he's pretty Gollum-like in this one. Did you intend for Kazami and CD's backgrounds to be revealed back to back? Yep. Because once Kazami's background is revealed, I think you have to do CD next because you're not going to be... You're onto him, basically. You know what I mean? That card's been played. Kazami card's been played, and so you have to play CD because you can't be like, who's the spy now? It's like, you know exactly who it is, and so you can't play around anymore. What are your thoughts if people wanted to do Box Peak reaction streams or videos? Heck yeah. I think. I don't know the rules. I don't know the rules, but that would be fun. I would love to see some reactions to episode 7. Me too. That's why it's so fun to see these live. For sure, it's fun. Do you have any good books or video series that covers writing? Your writing is quality. Thank you, Troubleshot. That's a high compliment. I think it comes from a lot of... Dang. So I went to school. My degree in college is writing for television. And it doesn't always pay off daily, you know what I mean? But I think that the fundamentals were ground into me, right? The idea that always know what a character's motivation is, always have a scene change something, have a purpose for every scene, right? Come out of a scene in a different spot than where you entered the scene, stuff like that. And I think that still pays off, honestly. I would not tell you to go get a degree for writing in television just to do a web series. But I do think I learned more about writing in college than anywhere else. In terms of this kind of writing, structure writing, because I think some sketch writing principles pay off a lot when you're writing this kind of thing too, especially because, you know, they're 11-minute episodes or less. I think this one's like 10 and a half or 10. So, you know, some of the comedy writing I've done classes for, I think also helped. But no, like books, I hate books about writing. It's hard for me, man. There was one book that's just like, you gotta read this. It's about like a screenplay structure, and like everybody read this book, and you learn about how to do an 3-act structure, and then how to, you know, what to do in the first 10 pages of your screenplay if you want to get sold in Hollywood. Bores me to tears. It's really hard for me to read that kind of thing, honestly. Yeah, but generally I would say, like, I hate rewatching stuff, but rewatch the stuff you respect and try to figure out why they did everything they did. And most of the reason, there is a reason why, you know, other than like this would be cool, and then this would be cool, and then this would be cool. But once you start like watching it a second time and like thinking about the writers and their intent for every scene, I think a lot of stuff becomes more clear, and that makes you a better writer. Was that Yellow Fang's phone? Yeah, that was Yellow Fang's phone. And so let's see how this would have worked. So there was a defective box that needed to be destroyed. Bronze Fang got the box porter from it. He was going to go to Atroxic Island to destroy the box porter and the box with it, because that's the only way to destroy double plastic completely. However, on his way over, a tiny seagull flew into his helmet. He dropped the box porter. Some guy on a dock found the box porter, handed it to Geordie. Bronze Fang saw this too late. He saw it at the end of episode 1. But he was intrigued by Geordie and how he plays. And so he started watching Geordie more and more with this defective box, and he couldn't do it. He loved the way that Geordie played too much, and so he couldn't destroy that box anymore. Had to let Geordie have that box. So he ran away. Now, the Box Peak organization knows that there's a defective box that hasn't been broken yet. They're like, where's Bronze Fang? And so the Fangs are chasing Bronze Fang this whole time. He's trapping him in rope traps, you know what I mean? He's just on the run this whole time. They have no idea where Geordie is, because Bronze Fang has been doing such a good job trying to protect Geordie that he's been leading the other Fangs off on this completely separate track. Yeah, the Yellow Fang was looking for Bronze Fang because he is a level 9 criminal now, but also he was given the order to destroy that box. And that's why, yeah, he was called today to, hey, don't destroy that box. And so, honestly, if that conversation had happened 5 minutes earlier, or I guess 5 minutes later, those two guys wouldn't have to have fought, probably. Bronze Fang still would have been a level 9 criminal, but I believe he probably would have given himself up, because when he makes a twist is you can't have that box, right? He's not afraid of going to Bonefield Island. I think he's afraid of letting anyone have Geordie's box. I feel so bamboozled by this episode. I thought Denise was Bronze Fang and thought CD was a jerk because the other kid from Fairboat didn't have a flawless record. Well, I mean, I totally think Thurvin was ditched because he didn't have the talent. I think that's what's implied, is that, like, I think I'm still pretty good. It's like CD had to move on from Thurvin because it just wasn't happening for him. How aren't the other Fangs able to find Geordie when everyone on the island knows who Geordie is now? They're looking for a defective box, but they also do not put together defective A defective. Was the defective A pronunciation at all inspired by the generic pronunciation joke from Bobby's World? That was the first thing that came to my mind. No. I have to say, Bobby's World is not a direct inspiration on any part of Box Peak. It was originally Dispose. His beta name was Geordie Dispose. Straight up no pronunciation thing. But yeah, I don't know why I switched to defective A. I think to make the miscommunication like a little easier to comprehend. How much direction has Denise provided CD? So I get the impression that, I mean, how long has it been since we shared a meal? Like 3 years. They don't talk very much at all. There's clearly to me like a binder, the plan. By the way, I try to give every new character a new nose because everyone has the exact same eyes, and mostly the same mouths. So this one's just a JoJo nose. Just stole JoJo nose. Easy steal. This is funny too. So, the original take on this. So this character Leonard, Lieutenant Leonard, I forgot to record. I was assembling the audio edits some point in the summer. What was it, like August or July? I can't remember when I actually did the final audio edits for the rest of the season. And as I'm putting this together, I'm like, I never recorded that guy. So that's why it's me. That's why it's me just hopping in the studio. Like, oh, okay, all right, let's just get this done. So on the drive over to Jones's, I'm like trying to figure out what he sounds like, you know, like the Bex. And then like when he says like Bex, I like knew that, okay, that's funny. That's a dumb voice. The line is, the seamstress needs to know one thing. What is the name of our cause? And he goes, what is the name of a cause? I showed that to two people. I showed that scene to two people, and both of them had no idea what he was saying. They're like, what is this guy saying? What is the name of a cause? And they're like, I don't know what that line is. And then very, very luckily, I recorded an alternate where he says, what is our name? And it works. Like, people get what he's actually asking. But I'll never forget what is the name of a case. Think about it still today. But it's the one reason why it's good to show it to maybe a couple of people. I do wish that I could show it to maybe like 300 people who will notice the names that I miss in the credits and then show it to everybody. That's just not the way this works. Was Bronze Fang working out knowing the violence of a karate chop was inevitable? Oh yeah, he was doing grip strength because he knew he would have to strangle his best friend. That's why he was strengthening his grip. Yeah. Yeah, that's why that was. That's why that was happening. Because honestly, I thought about like, okay, what business would Bronze Fang have? What should he be doing right now? I'm like, oh, obviously he should be preparing. There it is. Yeah, that was him with his little grip strength thing. That was hard, actually. That was really hard to draw and animate and cut. That was really hard to pull off, actually. And I don't like to use the same shot twice. I think you can smell it when that happens. And so I had to find 6 different shots that kind of lined up. You know what I mean? You can't just GIF it and just have like the same 2 shots doing this and this. It looks weird. And so that's why it's a little janky, but I think it's, even in its jankiness, a little more natural. Judging from the YouTube thumbnail, the kid Geordie fought in this episode is from the opening. Yep. Yeah. So the opening has dun 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 dun. The second guy is, maybe it's the first. Yeah, I think he's the first guy. The guy with the green hoodie and the brown spiky hair is Bon Bon Patchoff. So, also, another reveal of this episode is that perhaps there might be 1 or 2 shots in the episode, their season 2 trailer, that are just totally fabricated. Just for the sake of a trailer. That was Bon Bon Patchoff. Where are all the bones from that are on Bonefield Island? Sorry, what is the question? The implication to me is that Bonefield Island suggests there's a long history of people being sent to this island to die, and it's just mostly bones now. Are the number of horns the rank of the fangs? No, I think it's just kind of like a personality thing. I think you choose how you want your fang to look, or your helmet to look. That's what I like about Bonefield Island, right? Is it's this kind of like sci-fi world where everything's like nice and shiny and new, but it's like, why would there be a island full of bones? That would have to exist over thousands and thousands of years. Is Denise the kind of mom that would want her kid to have her name? Caleb Denise from Monticello? Chat. If you can all agree on a middle name for Caleb, that can become canonical, but I have to tell you, I don't know what the D stands for. How do you come up with all the names? It's hard. It's super, super hard. It is honestly trial and error sometimes. Sometimes you nail a name, you're like, oh, that's right. Do we know Denise's last name? Yeah, it's Romanicello, which is CD's last name. It's weird. Like, it's like, it sounds like such a weenie thing to say, but you want to, like, you want the name to serve a purpose. And so, like, to me, CD is kind of like a cool name. You think of a CD, you think of technology, you think it's nice and short, it's slick, you know what I mean? Like, it fits that character. Denise, to me, is a kind of professional name. So I think some of that is, like, there's some element of, like, this serves the purpose of the character. Whoa. Deus Otiosis brings up that it's also seedy. That was unintentional. You know I hate puns, but I kind of like it. If you want to read into that, absolutely. Are the Fangs helmets made out of the same material as Box Peak boxes? No, they're metal. I tried to give it a metallic smack, right? And obviously you can see it degrading a little bit, the helmet too, whereas double plastic is indestructible. Unless you count the acid in the acid pit of Atraxic Island. Is Shugi's the only restaurant in this world? Well, no, they call it Mama Thirstby's, where Geordie comes from. No, it's just very popular. It's just a very, very popular restaurant. I like the idea of there being a Shugi's Plus. That's a very expensive restaurant to go to. Look at those milkshake glasses. Basically, they're huge because of their association with Box Peak. I need a Mama Thirstby's shirt. Oh, so somebody asked earlier in the stream. I'm sorry, that was one that I missed. When I had to say earlier that, like, hey, there's no new Box Peak merchandise coming, and I can't tell you why. Now I can. Is that part of the partnership with The Roost for ad reads on the podcast is they're also doing the merchandise. And so basically we have to sell out the merchandise we have now completely. So if you ever considered getting a Geordie's Dino shirt from Fangamer, might as well do that now because whenever the Roost stuff goes live, we got to cut off all of the current merchandise that we have. So yeah, and it is unlikely that there will be anything Box Peak in the first run of the stuff that we do with the Roost. We'll probably be just doing 2 shirts. So we'll take everything we have and condense it down to 2 nice shirts, hopefully. And yeah, I don't assume that one of those 2 shirts will be a Box Peak shirt. The Roost is what stuff? Easy A? Yeah, right, exactly. It'll be 2 Easy Ally shirts. Black Friday sale? Yeah, actually, Fangamer might do a sale soon. So we have for the rest of the year to buy the Geordie's Dino shirt. So I can't say for sure. I feel so. I should not have brought this up because I'm pretty sure there might be a large Fangamer sale around the time of Black Friday. And so maybe it's worth waiting for. But also, I do know that those shirts are running out. So I don't know how you want to roll the dice. That's up to you. I'm just stating the facts. I don't want to tell you to do anything. Anything notable come to mind in terms of how you constructed the sound effects? It's funny. So I did episodes 8 and 9 almost completely with sound effects. And then I went back to 6 and 7, which I finished without sound effects. And so I did those, in the last 2 weeks, added sound effects to 6 and 7. I'm starting to like it. Like episode 7 and 6 obviously have a lot more interesting sound effects than this one does. However, when I went back to this one last night and today, I'm like, I added, I think, twice as many sound effects as there were originally in the episode. And I think you'll watch like the first 5 episodes, you'll see somebody walk without footsteps, and most of the time it's not necessary. Like this guy doesn't have sound effects when he walks into the scene and plops down. Maybe he should, but really only when I want to emphasize it. But like, There's super funny opportunities. There are 2 scenes where I bump the table, right? When I'm like making a character sit down or walk up. And I think I just added these this morning, is the sound of like the table getting hit. And it becomes actually a funny joke when like CD's leaving the table and you hear just ching. And so, yeah, that's probably my favorite sound effect actually, is it happens twice, as you hear, and they're actually 2 different table knocks. Epidemic Sound has everything. Everything you could possibly need. They had 2 different table sound effects, because I also don't like to use the same sound effects over and over and over, because I think you smell that too. So yeah, that was probably the most fun sound effect in the entire episode, actually, is that. Did the Game Boy music playlist influence your music choices for Box Peak Season 2, or is that set pretty far in advance? Most of it's set very far in advance. I mean, that song at the end of this week's episode, this is fun. I get to actually see when I added it to the playlist. I think that's been around for a while. I think I picked that song out a long time ago. 2017, August 11th, 2017, I picked out A Different Kind of Love. This one. I actually kind of like the song, too. Because, like, I think it actually works for the episode, too, right? Like, thematically, right? Like, the episode's about a different kind of love. Everybody loves Box Peak. And so, oops, muted that. And so, like, I don't judge this mother and son necessarily. Their problem is they love Box Peak. That's their issue. And so, yeah, it's not like they're a bad son or a bad mom. It's just, you know, they love this thing. Hey, Kyle, just wanted you to know I literally did a spit take at the end of the episode. Thank you. It makes me laugh too, honestly. What went into the color choices for the characters' outfits? I think you start with Geordie. Geordie needs to have blue and red. It was just a simple fact. Simple, like, anime character fact. I'll stop playing this. And so you start with that, and then I think I did CD next. Tried some different colors. Orange wasn't blue or red, right? And kind of pops. It pops. And then Kazami third. And so you have those 2 colors, and you need someone that's like the opposite of those things. Not opposite, but plays well to those other colors. And so you work off Geordie. And then generally, like, you want the box peakers to have cool colors. The youth. Like that kid they talked to in the beginning of the episode has like a bunch of poppy colors, right? He looks cool. First silver-haired kid. And then, yeah, I mean, you know, Denise wears like gray. She's pretty serious. You know, that kind of thing. I mess it up a lot. I don't think I have good color theory, to be honest with you. But I think a lot of it's just kind of playing around. How does Epidemic work with rights? Is Box Peak going to be taken down in 10 years if the license runs out? It's like an eternal type of deal. It's really nice. You should check it out, honestly, if you make videos. So basically, anything that's been made with the music, like if we stop paying tomorrow, it's all good, but we can't do new stuff with their music. And so, to be honest with you, I think there's any sort of fear going forward that rights could be moved around. Epidemic could go out of business and sell their music to somebody else, and then the new person says you can't use this anymore. That's truly scary, but I think that's a problem that anybody has with anything. Epidemic's a pretty straight deal. Pretty good deal for what is possible. I like it a lot. Can't say a bad thing about him. Did CD ditch Thurvin from the end of episode 7 because he didn't keep winning Box Peak matches like Geordie did? Yeah, for sure. Thurvin just didn't have the potential. CD had to move on. Was this episode any easier to shoot compared to the others? What's dumb, right, is because we just bounced off this special effects heavy episode. This stuff is hard to shoot because there's a table in front of them, they're in the middle, there's a chair behind them, there's a window behind them, and then there's the sky behind them. And so even though this scene is boring to look at, it's hard to shoot. It's so annoying to have to like stick your fingers in between the table and chair. That stuff sucks. I think I started shooting this scene because I knew that would suck the most. But generally, yeah, this is an easier episode to figure out to shoot, for sure. This was my favorite scene visually. Love a good restaurant. Cool. Thanks. Are there sponsored teams in Box Peak, or are Peakers pretty much solo? Great question. There are... It's weird. The high school has a team. It's like, what, you play drums for the Box Peak team? So I gotta believe there are teams, but generally it's solo. It's like more like the Pokemon universe or Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe, where it's like this person is the star. Do you listen to the audio while shooting the scenes? Yeah, I couldn't do it without it. I used to do it more where I had the script by my side, and I would like kind of do the lines out loud. And what's weird is you get more animation, but I would mess up a lot. I would like be totally off time-wise, and then you have to like stretch and shrink the clip to make it match the time. But I still do that sometimes. Like, go, Geordie, have fun. Like lines where you clearly need to animate it. You know what I mean? Maybe stuff like this a little bit. No, this is me listening to recording for sure, because it's just such a long line. But yeah, so sometimes when I like, you really need to emphasize something, I'll absolutely do it three or four times afterward. But yeah, most of the time I'm just playing the music off my phone. Sorry, the VO off my phone, and trying to match that as best I can. Basic Courage. Who invented Box Peak, and was the BPO there at the beginning? That's up for you to imagine. Though I don't believe the BPO was there at the beginning. Just because of the line where Victor says, they don't own Box Peak. We do. We all do. So it kind of makes me think that it's not like... I think of the BPO a lot of the time as like the NFL. You know what I mean? Because you can play Street Box Peak, right? But like, if you want to play Box Peak, if you want to get allowance and everything, if you want to box Porter and have like this invincible box and get points and stuff like that, that's what the BPO is there for. Yeah. How much of the visuals did you have for Amanda and the others while they were recording scenes? Nothing. I think nothing. Maybe the opening? We may have had the opening done before we recorded. Yes, we did. Because I remember pitching Elise. I sent her the opening, which I like released as a trailer. And she's like, oh yeah, this show looks so sweet. Kyle, this looks like such a sweet show. I would love to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, hold on. Let me send you the script. You have to blow up in a giant robot. I just realized I haven't emailed Elise. I should do that. I should see what she actually thinks of the episode. But yeah, so yeah, I think we had the opening. So I think when we recorded most of the VO, very few people actually knew what their characters looked like, or I knew what they looked like even, you know. I just realized it's afternoon, so let's do 3 more. Let's do 3 more questions, and then we'll look forward to episode 9, which is a pretty sweet episode. Do you ever bust out laughing at your own writing? I can't imagine recording Kazami without chuckling hard. 2 questions, like, yes. Profound badness, you know that's my weakness, is that I think my stuff is super funny. And so yeah, I'll laugh at my writing. I'll laugh when I'm editing it. I'll laugh when I'm shooting it. And then sometimes even like premiering this now, this episode I've seen way too many times. There are parts that I'm still like, probably nice dead body. Like I'll still laugh at that every single time. But recording Kazami, which was the dream, right? I feel like I should catch everybody up on Kazami. Here's what happened. game trailers days. We're doing a late night Friday night stream. We're making fun of how it was maybe just the advertising, but it happens a lot in Inuyasha where the guy just screams Kagome. So we're just riffing on Kagome all night long. Huber goes to the bathroom at some point. He sees a guy in a stall next to him. He assumes this is Brad, Ben, or myself, and he shouts, Kazami! I think the guy says, like, what? And then he realizes that is some other guy. But to Huber's credit, it is late at night, right? It's late at night. So, like, there shouldn't be a lot of other people in the office. Huber comes back and tells us the story. And then we're like, Huber, who is Kazami? He's like, that girl we were talking about. So then Kazami obviously became the new joke. Just the idea of shouting out Kazami is so funny. And then I think I like kept that ball rolling, right? I think we've on streams named a couple of characters Kazami since then. But it was Kazami's fate, since naming her Kazami, for that name to be shouted, right? Why put Kazami in anything if you won't have a point where you scream Kazami? And so that's why it was her fate. She had to lead somebody to scream her name at some point in the series. So anyway, back to everything. Was I cracking up laughing doing that line? No, it was horrifying. I tried to be as horrified as possible as I was screaming that line. And then actually watching that person burn alive and screaming Kazami, it gives me like a heart clench laugh. Like, this is horrible kind of laugh. Which GT stream? I can't say. I have no idea. There are dozens and dozens. What were the allies' reaction to that scene given the backstory of her name? I don't know. To be honest with you, I feel like maybe 3 easy allies have seen episode 7. Do the vocal performances influence the character design? Great question. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I feel like when I think back on it, like a lot of like what Sean gave to Dr. Scrapper, I think that led to his kind of gleeful grin, I think of this Jones with this waiter. All I need is like, hey Jones, I just need a waiter real quick. And just like the way, I love the way this waiter is such a creep, but it's because of how Jones delivered those lines. Yeah, absolutely. For a lot of these, I have the recording first, which I think is backwards for how most animation works. But yeah, it absolutely influences their design and expressions, which is actually super helpful. Ever thought of trying to animate a crowd scene, like a stadium audience where everyone's actually moving? No. You do it. Do that one for me. Does Kazami love Box Peak too much, or did she just need something to take her away from the responsibilities that were forced on her? She loves Box Peak. She for sure loves Box Peak. I think that she probably was traveling between dimensions because she wanted to get away from the responsibilities in the first place, but I don't question her love for Box Beat. Do you ever look in the mirror for facial expression reference? No, but I do know that artists do that. I think I make the face. I think I've always done that. Even when I was a kid, people would be like, "You're making weird faces as you draw." Well, it's like I don't know I don't know how to, but also sometimes for expressions, it's way easier to Google sarcastic anime. And then you look through the sarcastic anime faces and you find exactly what you need. All right, that's it. Will there be a stream where all the allies get together and watch the whole series at once? No, but the final Q&A will be me and Amanda. We'll do live commentary over season 2. That'll be fun. Chat, are you Googling sarcastic anime right now? Who'd you strangle to get the yellow teeth, the yellow fang expression? I like the yellow fang expression. One thing I do more and more as the series goes on is like squinch their eyes at some points. You know what I mean? You can't do it forever, but every time like you get to squinch their like that, I like that. You know, it helps a lot. You know, because there's not a lot going on with those black dots for eyes. Okay, Cheddar Rooney, that's it for this week. That's a wild episode. I was truly concerned about the reaction to this episode. And maybe I'll remain concerned until I read through all the YouTube comments. This one might be the longest episode so far, and clearly there's not a lot of action, but I think that's intentional. I think I want you to feel bad at the end of this episode. You know what I mean? It's such a bummer we had to watch Bronze Fang strangle somebody. It's such a bummer that CD's going through this and you have to spend this day with him and his mom. But I think that's the intent. But like I see comments in the YouTube section that are like, oh, remember when Box Peak was about Box Peak? You know what I mean? It's like, you're going to have a bad time in episode 8. I knew it. It's like, buddy, you're about to have a bad time during episode 8. But my response to you is this episode is entirely about Box Peak. It is 100% about Box Peak. If you're paying attention. So yeah, I like that. Okay, everybody. So next Friday, episode 9. I'm really excited for you to see episode 9. I'm really, really pumped for you to check that one out. It's so fun. It's fun to see what people are expecting out of the next episode. It's fun to see people be excited by what's happening. It's fun to see people be appalled by what's happening. And so episode 9 is always the big one. Maybe not my episode 9. Maybe episode 10 is the big episode of Box Peak, but episode 9 will be fun nonetheless. Cool. Hank gets shot. Hank's fine. All right, Chatteroony. I'm going to mute myself. Good wave goodbye. I will not be streaming tonight. No stream for me tonight. Do want to make that clear. So yeah, next time I'll be streaming, it'll be Tuesday group stream. We'll be playing Jackbox. And then yeah, next Friday, 11 a.m. episode 9. Looking forward to it. Okay, Chatteroony, that's it. Gonna mute myself. Good wave goodbye. Thank you for tuning into the Q&A. I love your questions. Thank you for being attentive. Thank you for watching this stuff. CD equals Chegduff. Well, clearly not anymore. We know his name is Caleb. Chegduff and CD have nothing in common. Don't even worry about Chegduff. Banned. Can someone go back and ban that person? All right, I'm muting myself for real this time. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I truly appreciate it. I wanted to do that. Chat. How do we stop touching our noses, right? It feels weird to me that I said appreciate it. And it's like, what does that mean? If I were a psychologist, I'm like, is he lying? Why is he touching his nose after he says that? Is he uncomfortable being appreciative? Does he have a hard time telling chat how much they mean to him? Maybe that, chat. Maybe it's like a discomfort thing. I truly, truly appreciate, from the bottom of my cold, frail heart, how much you give to me during these Q&As. Thank you, chat.